yet, I am Heidi Kay, the Director of School Counseling, and this is Jennifer Castellanos. She's the school counselor from K to 6, and I primarily serve that 7 to 12 grade population, and also as a coordinator of the Pine Schools Leader in Me team, and we're super excited to be bringing this initiative to Pine, which is very closely aligned to what we have been doing, prioritizing our culture and setting the kids up to create leadership skills to help them be successful in and out of the classroom. And what we really like, what we're exploring a lot of different programs, is K to 12. Leader in Me has a K to 12 aligned program. So this is something that we can really do school-wide, which looks differently in each division, but will help us use a common language as we want to set our kids up to meet our school's mission statement to really leave Pine School ready to take on the world. So we're glad that you joined us so we can tell you a little bit more about the program from our Leader in Me coach, Josh Wyckoff, who has joined us from our
Orlando area.
I'll let you know a little bit more, but thanks. Our goal is we are going to begin with our end in mind, which is our goal for introducing you to this program and to be done at around 10 o'clock. So if you do have to leave earlier, just kind of let yourself out, and I thank you in advance for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Kay. Good morning, everyone. It means the world to me to see this turnout, for you all to be here, making some time to be with me today. So thank you so much for that. I'm Josh Wyckoff. I serve as a coach with Leader in Me and live in the Central Florida area, and so about 2.5 hours up the road, and excited to spend some time with you. I've been on the Franklin Covey team for the last 5 years, but before that I spent 17 years as an educator, a principal, a district administrator in Volusia. And my path intersected with this work as an elementary principal about almost 10 years ago now. And it's really my privilege to get to work with schools and teams and families all around the state. So really the win for us today is to give you a really good foundational understanding of Leader in Me so that we can partner, you and the school partnering together to develop leadership skills in your student, giving them the skills to lead themselves and lead others, to be effective. And we define effectiveness as getting the results that you want to get. So we don't define what those results are, you define what effectiveness is for you. And effectiveness is getting the results you want in a way that you can get even better results moving forward. So I'm going to give you an overview of the Leader in Me process. I'm going to show you a quick clip that just kind of gives the origin story of where this started. And then I will, pardon me. And then I want to show you a few visuals and give you a good overview of the content within Leader in Me. So Leader in Me is based on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And how many of you have read the 7 Habits or encountered it? Yeah, a lot of us. It is a perennial bestseller, the 30th edition just came out a couple years ago. Dr. Stephen Covey wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And Dr. Covey, if you haven't read 7 Habits, you've absolutely encountered many of his leadership quotes. If I were to throw some out, you'd say, yep, I've probably heard that one. Here's what he says about family. The family is the most important organization in the world. And so Franklin Covey works with corporate clients. We do 7 habits in leadership development at the corporate level. Have any of you encountered that even in work or in your own professional lives? Our education division works specifically pre-K-12 and at the collegiate level on leadership development. And so same content, 7 habits. One of the things that's really exciting is I had parents when we embarked on this journey as a school principal who came and said, hey, I spend a lot of money to train every person I hire in the 7 habits, and my 3rd grader is going to learn the 7 habits here at your school. And I said, yes, they are. We want to equip them with the skills. It's not super early. So where we're going today, I'm going to share with you a little bit of the origin story, and then I really want to spend the bulk of our time talking about the 5 core paradigms So this is a good picture here of where Leader in Me focuses. So three areas within the life of the school: leadership development, culture, and academics. So yes, 7 Habits is that leadership skills piece. There's also content within the Leader in Me about setting and achieving academic goals, closing gaps, making sure that we're on track to get where we want to be. Developing people that are independent, interdependent, and able to make a broader contribution. So let me talk about the 5 core paradigms, and then I would love to show the origin story. So I said a moment ago, our paradigms are our lenses, the way we see the world. And so Dr. Covey has this model that is called See, Do, Get. And it goes like this: the way I see the world impacts what I do, and what I do impacts the results that I get. So I want you to think about your child for a moment. What kind of lenses, maybe really healthy, maybe there's some areas where they're struggling a little bit, but what kind of lenses are they wearing? Oftentimes those lenses impact the choices they make, their behavior, and then of course that leads to certain results. So if we think about just broadly, students in general, sometimes students have maybe a paradigm that goes like this, like, I'm just not good at school. That's just a lens they wear. I'm not good at school. How does that show up in what they do? What would that look like? If I'm wearing that paradigm, I'm just not good at school. How does that show up in what I do? So feeling unsure of myself, a lack of confidence, maybe not willing to take a risk. What else? Yeah, maybe that paradigm is so in place that I've just decided I'm not going to try. I'm not going to apply myself because I'm not good at school. This is the lens I'm wearing, right? What else? Avoidance? Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to kind of do anything but engage in school because I'm not good at school. All right. So, and then what results does that student get?
They're not good.
Yeah, you see the cycle. See, you get is a cycle. So they're not good at school, meaning we probably are going to have some academic struggle, especially if we're just like choosing to not engage, or maybe we're engaging but we're struggling learner. Those results could even become a discipline thing, that avoidance. So hey, I'm going to get in trouble, so I don't have to sit here and read. That reinforces a lot of times that paradigm. All right, so it is a cycle. Thankfully, the reverse is true too. That our students, many of them have some pretty healthy paradigms, things like, hey, if I work hard, I can achieve. I have something that I'm great at. I have something to offer my school community and the people around me. I'm safe and I'm cared for. Those paradigms lead to different behavior in the do section, like applying the opposite of what we just described. And then we get better results. And so the concept around See, Do, Get is if we're not getting the results that we want to get, instead of just changing what we do, we should first step back and think about how we're seeing the situation. So I'll share a personal example that I shared with the Pine team with them a couple of weeks ago. I'm a dad, I'm a proud girl dad. I have 2 daughters. This is a huge year in our house. My oldest is a senior in high school. We're going on the first college visit next week. I'm in my dad feelings about that. My baby is 14, just went to the high school as a freshman, hard to believe, went out for varsity cheerleading and made it. So now we're like living this crazy cheer dad life, my wife and I. But my girls this summer, when they were home, they're teenagers. And so when I'm not in the schools, I work remotely from home. My wife is an educator that works for a virtual school, also works remotely. We're working away at home. I mean, I had one of those days, which is back-to-back calls. And I come downstairs like midday just to grab a bottle of water, like 3 minutes, between calls. I come downstairs and I look into the family room, and my 2 teenagers, mind you, it's like 1 p.m. probably. So they've like rolled out of bed. They've got an encampment set up. There's electronics, Netflix is on. And then I look over to the kitchen, and the sink that was empty that morning is full of dishes and pots and pans. My oldest daughter uses everything in the kitchen to create macaroni and cheese. I don't get it. In that moment, I felt want to show you how See, Do, Get impacted me in this scenario. So, I was a little fired up, thinking all kinds of things. My wife's on a call in her office, kind of off to the den there, and I was ready to like fight him and be like, "You gotta be kidding me!" You know, I mean, how did you make this mess? You know, we're working all that stuff. And I just looked for just a moment. I just looked at my 17-year-old, my senior, and I just had this thought: like, this time next year, you're going to be packing her stuff up to move her out of this house. And when I saw differently, I did differently, because that changed the whole scenario. Now, I'm not a softie. The dishes still got done. I made sure that the dishes got done, but how I went about it changed because I saw differently. I finally just said, "Hey, girls, do you think when I come back downstairs here in a couple of hours that this could be cleaned up, the dishes could be put away?" "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem." Went back upstairs. I avoided the whole back and forth that would have happened if I had tore into them on it, and I would have had time to resolve it. We would have exchanged words, and then I would have stomped upstairs to get back on my next call, walking into another call, flustered by what just happened. So I got a different result. The dishes still got done, but they got done in a way that maintained our relationship, maybe even strengthened it. So, little silly home life example, but I just wanted you to kind of see that practical application of just stopping for a moment to think about how we're seeing can change the results that we get. I think a lot of times when we're not getting the results we want, we just try something new. So we do get. That didn't work. Maybe if you have a teenager at home and things are a little tough sometimes, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. Do get. Wondering what would happen if we just stopped for a moment and think about, okay, what's the lens that I'm wearing here and how I'm seeing. So there's 5 core paradigms for leader and lead. I'm going to go through them. You see on the bottom there's a limiting paradigm, or kind of the opposite as well. So let me say this about paradigms. Paradigms are not about all of us seeing the world the same way. That is not our intent at all. In the work of a leader in school, though, we do challenge adults, the families, and the staff. Hey, could we agree to try to keep these lenses somewhat in place? And just like regular glasses, we're going to have days where they slide down our nose a little bit. We might stumble and they, get crooked. We might need some help or to put them back in place. And so I want you to think about that as you look at these. So paradigm number 1, everyone can be a leader rather than, hey, leadership is for the few. So think about that for a minute. Do you believe that? Is leadership only for the people like me that like to be out in front of people and talking? Or is someone who's really shy who never want to get up in front of a group, could they lead in a different way? So really challenging all of you and the adults who work here at Klein. Hey, could we wear that lens that every single person in this school community can be a leader? Think about if we see that way, what could be different? Instead of the same 10 people doing everything, or the person who's always out front is always out front, we start to make space for other people to lead. All right, so that's core paradigm 1. Core paradigm 2, everyone has genius. Rather than, hey, just a few people are gifted, do we believe that there is some genius in every single person? And maybe you've had the experience at times with your child where you felt like, hey, I'm not sure that the adults at school are recognizing the gifts in my students, because they don't look like the gifts of this student, the other students that, they typically get recognized. Every student has genius, not just the top few students are gifted. I call that one the Chick-fil-A paradigm. I don't know if they do this at Chick-fil-A down here, but I go to Chick-fil-A too often. Let me put a plug in for the honey pepper pimento. It's back, and I'm so excited. My kids won't go into Chick-fil-A anymore with me because every time I go, I'm like, hey, when's that honey pepper pimento? Like, Dad, please don't. But it's back at work. I take credit nationally for bringing that back. If you like it, you're welcome. At my Chick-fil-A, you like that one? Yeah, you'll see why my kids don't go to Chick-fil-A with me too with this one, because at our Chick-fil-A, every name tag says, hi, my name is Josh, my genius is, and there's, it doesn't say genius, it says my passion is, and there's something there. And I know they're in a hurry because they can serve like 9 million people in 2.5 minutes, but I will not miss the opportunity to ask about what's on that name tag. So my kids hate that too. Like that, she just wants to hand you your chicken, like don't you? But I'll say, passion is guitar, you play guitar, oh yeah, I play jazz guitar. Like, it's just a way to connect. But looking for the gifts inside of every single individual. And by the way, all of this applies not just to students, but to families and to staff, all right? Change starts with me. So the limiting paradigm here is, hey, the system needs to change, or I'm going to wait for others to change. The maximizing paradigm is change starts with me. And I do want to say something about this. Sometimes the system does need to change. So this is not an either or. It's not, that isn't the way it's intended. Sometimes there are things in the system, whatever we want to say the system is, that do need to change. But really think about what can happen when I look for ways to influence what I can influence and bring my genius and my leadership to promote that kind of change. Number 4, empowering students to lead their own learning. So we really want to work with our staff and our students and our families to have this paradigm where it's not this teacher-directed, we're going to do this because I said we're doing it. We want to start empowering students to live into their genius and to engage in their learning. I don't know about you, but even in my own kids, post-COVID and everything that happened, I see this like downtick in engagement. Like it's harder, even as a dad, it's just harder to engage them than it was. Maybe it's their age, but I think I'm seeing that everywhere I go. This is the key for that when we empower students to lead their own learning. And then the last one, core paradigm 5, and this is where you are so important, and I'm so glad you're here today. This one is about partnering, educators and parents partner to educate the whole child. So not just focusing solely, teachers focus on academics, but how can we partner together to develop the whole child? And what I want to say about that, because I know the heart of this school, you're in the driver's seat with your child. We want to partner with you in a way that will help you to build the skills in your child so they can be successful, leading themselves and leading others. And so that partnership piece is really important. So let me pause there. I'm going to switch over to show you this quick origins video of Leader in Me, and then we're going to dive in and take a little tour of the 7 habits. One moment.
Look around. What's needed more today than ever before? In the world, in your country, in your city or town, perhaps even in your family, your friends, or yourself. Is it money? Time? What about connection? Or understanding? Certainly it's not more faith or entertainment. What about more and better leadership? And not the fly-by-night what's popular today kind of leadership. Don't we all want real, solid, principle-centered leadership that is enduring and timeless? Over 30 years ago, the world was introduced to the 7 habits of highly effective people. Stephen Covey's blueprint to unleash human potential and unlock the greatness that lies within everyone. This work, which still remains one of the best-selling leadership books in history, continues to light a path for how to be our best selves, how to communicate well, and how to lead with integrity and purpose. Soon after, his son John introduced these 7 habits to teens, opening up a world of promise that if they made choices aligned to leadership principles rather than pop culture and flashy trends, they could make a difference in a world they would create. At that same time, Muriel Summers, an elementary school principal in Raleigh, North Carolina, began the bold adventure of teaching the 7 habits to her staff, students, and their families, and transforming her school into a multiple award-winning leadership magnet elementary school. And from there, the model that she and other schools learned to build and sustain, the Leader in Me, is being replicated in over 7,000 schools in more than 56 countries. Today, Leader in Me is nurturing leadership and unleashing potential. The littlest leaders in early learning are discovering how to grow their independence and find their voice. Elementary school leaders, who were simply known as students before, are stepping up, teaching, and leading their own learning. Middle and high school leaders, some of whom were unsure where school was leading them or why it was worth their time and effort, are now engaged and empowered, practicing the skills that they know companies and communities desire and need. College and university leaders who are seeing how the practicality of these timeless leadership principles can guide them into a resilient and satisfying future. Families feeling grounded and affirming the greatness in each other. Professionals who know how and are focused on nurturing the genius in others and in themselves. Every age, from birth to courtroom, teachers to firefighters, coders to scientists, any profession, every profession where we need a person aware and able to make wise choices, build lasting trust, to live a balanced and satisfying life. This is who we serve, and this is what we grow. We are educating and releasing leaders who have the skills and confidence to step up, to be bold, and to act in ways that reveal rooted character and acknowledge that they have exactly what the world needs today. Leadership.
That gives you a little taste of the origins of Leader in Me. Literally began just organically with a elementary principal, Muriel Summers, just trying to turn the school around and prepare students for life after school. And Muriel just retired. She was a 40-year educator in the Wake County Public School System in North Carolina. Just retired about 2 years ago. So let me give you a little tour of the 7 habits of highly effective people. I know many of us have encountered it in some way, shape, or form. And I want to offer this up to you as we walk through these together for the next few moments. Part of our resources that we have available here at Pine is this content, the 7 habits of highly effective people. There is a book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. And it is the same 7 habits, the same principles, but it's all through the lens of family life. That content is available for staff and for some of you who might have an interest in supporting families to teach and deliver that content to the community. So I throw that out there because if this is something that you kind of have a passion for, of like, hey, I don't know about you, nobody sent me that effective family school. Like, thankfully, I grew up in a good family, and I have that great example, but not everybody has had that experience. And I'm still figuring it out as I go. As a dad of 2 teen girls, especially growing up with all brothers, I'm like in a whole new world, and I still haven't adjusted, even though I'm 17 years in. And so if this is something that might be a passion of yours, I want to offer that because there could be a really cool opportunity for some of you to get certified in that content and deliver it to families here at Pine, whether that be in learning sessions or short sessions like this. So I want to throw that out to the front as we're walking through. So what we have here is called the maturity continuum. This is a good kind of graphical representation of the 7 habits. I'm sorry, I'll be walking through. Okay. And I want to show you a couple things on this, and then we're going to walk through all 7 habits. So the reason this is called the maturity continuum is you see at the bottom in orange the word dependence. So think about that. Dependence is this kind of attitude of you. I'm dependent on you. So everything from like newborn baby, literally dependent on someone for everything. Some of our teenagers are still pretty dependent in some ways, right? Some days. As we begin to practice these principles of effectiveness, we move on this continuum from dependence to independence, where now I can make decisions for myself. I can choose to act for myself. And then up to interdependence, where, hey, there's more than just me, myself, and I. We've got to work together in a community here. So now I'm focused on how I interact with others. And so you'll notice down here at the bottom, habit 1, 2, and 3. So habit 1, be proactive. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit 3, put first things first. Habit 4, think win-win. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit 6, synergize, and we'll talk about 7 in a minute. What do you notice is the difference between habits 1, 2, and 3 in orange and habits 4, 5, and 6 in green? Using my teacher wait time. You're probably thinking the right answer. Go ahead.
I can't see the little font, but that they're separated by independence. Is that what you're going?
Yes, yeah. So these 3 down here are about leading self. That brings us to independence. So I can't really be fully independent if I can't lead myself, right? So habits 1, 2, and 3, we call these the private victory. And Dr. Covey says in the 7 Habits book, public victories can only happen after the private victory is in place. Because habits 4, 5, and 6 are about leading others and how I interact with others. So we've got personal effectiveness, interpersonal effectiveness. So think about this. Have you ever had someone try to lead you at the interpersonal level who has not mastered leading themselves? And we won't name any names, but what does that look like when someone is a boss or something like that is leading us and they've not mastered personal management? That's frustrating, isn't it? It can feel hypocritical. A lot of times when we see leaders implode, that's part of it, is they've not mastered this private victory, but they're out there trying to win the public victory. And so these build on each other. We're going to walk through all 7 just briefly to give you a good sense of kind of each one. But Dr. Covey would say, if we're struggling up here, so habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. There's really 3 up here that I live in, that I'm just 10 years in, living this content, teaching this content, leading this content, that I still have to work on all the time. Habit 1, habit 3, and habit 5. So habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. That's about listening and about communicating effectively. If I'm in a struggle relationally where this isn't happening, I'm feeling like we are not on the same page, I'm not understanding what you're trying to share with me. Dr. Covey would teach us that, hey, before we can even get there, we got to make sure, first of all, is our private victory in place. Habits 1, 2, and 3. Now that does not mean that if you're having a problem with a relationship that you're the problem. Sometimes the other person can be the problem. But I'm going to be better equipped to handle whatever it is that I'm struggling with up here if I've got these things in place down here. So let's walk through the 7 habits here. Habit 1, be proactive, is about responsibility. How many of you want your kids to leave this place responsible citizens? Yes, I think we all want that for our kids. Taking responsibility. There's a couple principles behind habit 1. One of them is between what happens to me and how I respond. I get to make a choice. I was a middle school assistant principal for a number of years. Did a lot of, in a tough public middle school surrounded by housing projects in Daytona Beach. 4 years there. Discipline all day, every day. And I really struggled sometimes with this idea that, hey, somebody bumped me in the hallway, so I had to punch them in the face. You know, like we had this, they would sit there and say, she hit me, I hit her back. He hit me, I hit her back. Maybe you see some of that reactive behavior sometimes with your kids where they feel like, hey, this happened, I have to respond this way. We're really trying to teach that, hey, pause and respond. You're still responsible for the choice you make, and you get to make the choice. And someone might pause and then still hit. It's not going to get them the result they probably want. But that is the idea that, hey, between stimulus and response, if I could pull that apart and practice the pause and make a choice based on the results that I want in this scenario. All right? So that's being proactive. There's a couple things here. This is where initiative falls in. Using proactive language rather than victim language or blaming others. clear goals and purposes. So this is about personal mission, like, hey, what do I want to be about? What do I want my life to be about? Think about that in terms of family. Do you have, and this is in the family's content, do you have a family mission statement or an understanding that as a family, here's what we're going to be about. This is our role together as a family, all right? Have it to big picture end in mind. Who do I want to be? One of the activities that I absolutely love in the learning is we do this exercise where we think about what do you want people to say about you at your 80th birthday party? Like the most important people in your life. What do you want them to say about you in your economy at your 80th birthday party? Are you living in accordance with that? And if not, we'll course correct so that we are living the life that we choose to live. So this is big picture, but it's also smaller picture. It could be that I know that you and I are going to have a tough conversation this afternoon. What is my end in mind for that conversation? Defining outcomes before I act is going to help me to get a better result. So I think that when we, especially when we think in terms of our kids, they don't naturally think this way, right? They're kids, and they don't have to have their whole life planned out. That's okay. But starting to teach them to think about what's our end in mind? What is it that we really want to accomplish can get us a whole better result than just let's just go with the flow and see what happens. All right, so that's beginning with the end in mind. Building a life based on a mission. Habit 3, this is a big one for me, along with habit 1. I live in habit 1. I used to be, like I said, I can put some words together pretty quickly, and you think about there's probably some things in your life, like some circumstances where you know maybe some people you tend to be a little more reactive around. And so I'm always working on that. This one is another one. But first things first, it is about prioritizing. The kid-friendly language for habit 3 is work first, then play. I don't think that's kid language. I think that's adult language too. This is the making sure that I am making time for the things that are most important to me. How am I going to define what's most important to me? Goes right back to habit 2, right? Like, what's my end in mind? My values. See how these are connected? Now I'm going to pause and respond based on what's most important. The term you're going to hear that we use in 7 Habits for our biggest priorities is our big rocks. And I'm going to show you a student-facing video to give you a taste of kind of what students will encounter in the curriculum around this. But this is about making time for the things that are most important. So let me jump out of here and pull up our big rocks. We're going to have Manny and Clark, who are our upper middle school and high school age guys, give us this moment.
Hey, what do we got here? This is part 2 of First Things First, the grand experiment. Hey, good meeting. This is your life. This bowl is your life. This is 1 week of your life, and your job is to get all the important things in your life to fit in with all of the day-to-day activities. Go. Okay. Yeah. All right, so that's everything I do in a week, right?
Yeah.
All the time. Okay. Family, right? That's just one of the most important. And you can't go over the edge.
Okay, so I'm gonna make it fit without going more?
Right there.
Okay, well,
like this: balancing courage for what I want with consideration for what you want. And it's a balance. So in the learning, we learn, hey, some of us tend to lean more towards courage. Like, we don't have any problem saying, hey, this is what I want. Others maybe lean more towards consideration, where we're like, you know what, I'll just let everybody else have their way, walk all over me. The effective behavior is when we learn to balance that. So I want to just give you an example from family life of how this common language can help. When we start to learn this language together and use it, I literally use this phrase, not just with my kids, but even my team. I had somebody on my team call. Have you ever had someone call you and you were like 5 minutes into the conversation and you're like, whatever they told me the problem is, it's not the problem. There's something else going on here. So I had a conversation with a coworker that was, I could tell upset about something, but it wasn't what she said she was upset about. And we finally kind of got to the heart of the issue. And I literally use this language together to say, hey, we're not seeing eye to eye on this. I do tend, even though I told you I can be a little reactive, I actually tend to lean toward consideration and then resent the heck out of it after I let you have your way, and then I'm like ticked that I let you have your way, all right? So I know that about myself. I had to just say to my coworker, hey, I am really working here to balance courage and consideration. My tendency would be to just fold and let you, but that's not going to be good for our relationship, and I'm going to be mad at you for like a long time. So I'm trying to balance courage and consideration. Could I share a little bit about, from a place of courage, could I share a little bit about why this is important to me? That language just gave us the space to work through. So think about with your kids, especially as they get a little older and they want to push the limits a little bit and do things that you're not sure you're comfortable with them doing. What would happen if you start to have this conversation about, hey, what's a win-win here? So, I went through all of that with the cell phone and the social media and, my senior, I'm like not ready for it. It's like, we were at the football game Friday night watching her little sister cheer, and she came over from the senior student section and graced us with her presence for a few minutes. And my wife said, are you coming home tonight? And I was like, is that an option? What are you talking about? Whoa, no, that is not a win-win. And of course she meant that she was supposed to spend the night at a friend's house, but I took it like, just go out on the town and no, that's not happening. But think about having this framework for some of these conversations at home of like, hey, what's a win-win agreement here? Here's what I'm going to agree to do in this scenario. Here's what you're agreeing to do, your responsibility. This is a win-win for both of us, all right? I wanted to just touch on this matrix here when we think about balancing courage and consideration. This is not compromise, by the way. Compromise is not a win-win. Compromise means I gave up something I wanted and you gave up something you wanted. Sometimes it is necessary to compromise, but sometimes compromise can be a lose-lose. We both walk away feeling like we didn't get what we wanted. And so we've got win-lose. If you're high in courage and low in consideration, I win, you lose. Some of us operate that way, maybe your kids operate that way sometimes. So we have win-lose. We have lose-lose. I like to call this one from my middle school educator days the middle school option, because sometimes our middle schoolers, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to burn the whole place down. We're all losing. Everyone loses. Everyone in the house is going to lose if I lose. That's lose-lose. We've got lose-win. I'll just let you win. I lose, you win. And then this one up here, sometimes we can get to win-win. Sometimes it's win-win or no deal. So sometimes we have to say, hey, we're not able to come to a win-win. We're going to take a break. And we're going to come back to this, hopefully, to try to get to a win-win later. All right? So it isn't like Pollyanna that we always get to win-win. Sometimes we're just not going to agree. Sometimes you're going to play the parent card and you need to. And just say, I'm really sorry that you're going to feel like this is a loss for you, but it's my responsibility to set some boundaries for you, and I'm setting this up. All right? Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. It's about diagnosing before you prescribe. So the first half of this is about listening. Seek first to understand. The second half then is about communicating effectively, then to be understood. Do you see the connection to have before courage and consideration? I've got to have consideration to listen. I've got to have courage then to communicate effectively, especially if My wife and I just celebrated 20 years of marriage, and it has taken me 20 years. And here's how this works in our house. I think like most guys, I just want to fix it. So she would tell me something like frustrating going on at work, and I'd be like, you know what you need to do? I need you to call your boss up and tell her, da, 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 da. And finally, Stacy was like, hey, I really just want you to listen to me. I don't need your suggestions. I don't want your suggestions. I just want to be heard. All right? And so I wasn't even seeking to understand. I was like already listening to reply. Here's the solution. Here's what we should be doing. And that was under I thought I would be helpful. My intent was good. I was like wanting to defend her in those situations. Now we're at the point where she's trained me well, and she'll say, I'm going to share something with you, and I just want you to listen. She literally will say that. And I still have a hard time sometimes, but I try. All right? So this is where we learn about empathic listening. When someone says something to me, I'm trying to hone in on what the feeling is there and reflect that back to them to make sure I have it right. So Jennifer shares something with me, and I say, it sounds like you're feeling really frustrated that you got overlooked again at work. If I'm right, we're closer to having this understanding. If I'm wrong, I'm giving her the space to go, no, that's not how I'm feeling at all. So we spend a lot of time, I think, back and forth in a relationship, like spinning over misunderstandings because we are like listening to reply, autobiographical listening. A lot of times with good intent. Maybe we're trying to help be a problem solver, but we're jumping right to solutions when sometimes think about our kids. I will say, Stacey's trained me finally in 20 years. I'm working on this still as a parent. Because I still have this paradigm that like I know best. And I you know, my kids, like I was an educator in the school district they go to, and they act like I don't know anything about how the school district works. I'm like, I ran the school district. You know, so, yeah, we're working on this still. Seeking first to understand, then to be understood. Listening with our eyes, ears, and heart. Synergize, work together for best results. So synergy is about your genius and my genius coming together to get a better result than we could get on our own. And it's rare, and it's special when it happens. So it's not just teamwork, it is literally the result of those first 5 habits being in place, especially an attitude of win-win and habit 4, and the skill and habit 5 of listening and communicating effectively that can free us up to synergize. So in terms of family, defining each other by our strengths and not our weaknesses is what helps us for synergy. And the last one, habit 7, if you remember on the maturity continuum, it was a circle around all the others. So this one, sharpen the saw, is really about balance and renewal. So the question I love to ask on this is, have you ever been too busy driving to stop for gas? How does that end up if we take that a little too far? All right, and so sharpen the saw is about making sure that we are taking the time for renewal and balance, and we do that in these 4 basic areas. So yes, body, nutrition, safety, exercise, rest. Mind, our knowledge, challenge, discovery, creativity. Heart is in our relationships with others. And then spirit can be a little more of an enigma for people sometimes. This is really about meaning, contribution, service, vision. If you and your family are people of faith, that certainly could fall there in that dimension. But if not, spirit is really just about, hey, what am I doing to renew and be a part of something bigger than just myself? Giving back to the community, for example, could fall in that category. So that kind of gives us a big overview of how those 7 fit together. Let me just pause there. We've got a few minutes left. I would love to open the floor up just for any wonderings, comments, questions, connections that you have about the 7 habits or anything I've shared so far. Go ahead.
How is this getting rolled out to the student population?
Yeah, great question. So there is a direct teach portion that is going to be used in space that was already available for advisory. So we already had some space in the schedule where things like a morning meeting or check-in were coming together, like some character ed space. And so that is where the direct teach
been doing this, but now we have a common language. So we're just at the beginning stages where that's really more important than actually doing the lesson and the activity, and it's really teaching the children how to be leaders of their own experiences, how to solve their conflicts, and now we kind of just have a much better framework that's balanced across the grades. And just a side note, this past Friday we had retreat day in middle and upper school, and it was still, upper school was off campus, and middle we stayed on campus, we did scavenger hunts and other fun bonding activities. And Jennifer Castellanos and I went to the middle school grades and did some activities on habits 2 and 3. And it's not this formal, so they kind of is, but it started with, hey, think about your day. What do you do on a typical day? Write a list of like what you did yesterday when you woke up. And then I wrote, brushed my teeth, I played video games, I talked to friends, I did all the things, came to school, read, did homework, and then played Fortnite for 3 hours, whatever it was they did. And then we talked about what's your big goal for the end of the year. We call it a WIG, a wildly important goal. What's your really important goal this year? And we wrote that down separately. A lot had to do with either getting great grades or making the team, more performance-based things. And then I said, okay, now look at all of the things yesterday that you did and think of that wildly important goal. Circle anything that you did yesterday or do on a typical day that will help you reach your goal. And it's kind of great. Fortnite help me with me, and then we helped them to put first things first. They looked at their end in mind as their goal. But first things first of the other things. Of the other things you did, what would you think would be most important to reach their goal? So at their developmentally appropriate level, we're really trying to help them think about what they're doing each day to be their best selves, to fulfill their own dreams. Sometimes we use these words, but we're doing it at an age-appropriate level from 5 to 18. So it's really neat to see how this is organized, but it's really much way cooler to see it in action. We had the opportunity to go to a symposium last year, leader in the symposium in Charlotte, where we learned more about the program and we visited elementary, middle, and high schools to see how it's infused in all the settings. It was incredible. And we spoke to the students who were walking around like leading the place, taking us on tours, teaching us habits. And I asked the same question to 2 different age groups because my thought was, the kids get sick of every year hearing about the same habits. So I spoke to students directly and they were talking about how the habits mean something different to them at each level. And one girl said, when I was in 4th grade, being proactive to me meant I needed to study my spelling words to ace the test. But as a senior, being proactive applying to college entails way more. So I really appreciate having a program that's going to help all our students at all of our levels. But if anybody has additional questions on how we are actually implementing it throughout all the grades, please feel free to contact one of us directly. And for friends of yours who couldn't make it today, I just wanted to mention we are recording the session, as I said before. So we'll be able to push it out to others as well. Because I think the way for it to be most effective is if we do it as a team, starting at home, and then us doing our job here at school.
So a couple things that I wanted to touch on how families can partner in this work. It's really important, like we're just getting started in teaching the language to students, and at first you're just going to start to hear the language. That's like the first thing you start to see. Like you might hear your child say something about big rocks, and then now you'll know kind of where that falls. As we go deeper and as students grow through the grade levels, we start to hear less of the habit language, and we start to see more of the highly effective practices behind the habits. And that's what we want to reinforce and encourage and model for students as much as possible. It doesn't mean we have to be perfect. I mean, my kids know that I teach this stuff, and they know when I fall short. And it's an opportunity for me to be real and leadership roles at home. Ask them about it. Invite them to teach you about what they're learning about it. I will warn you that some of them are probably going to point things out in their conversations with you. You might hear, hey, that's not very proactive, Mom, or something like that. So what I always say to staff and families is we should be really careful not to weaponize the habit language. So like when emotions are high and your child's making a poor choice, that's not very proactive. It's probably not the effective way. Versus saying, hey, could we pause? Let's just take a deep breath. Could we pause? And let's think about what's the outcome we want in this. Could we pause and then choose a response? Guiding them, through that thinking. Participate in family events like you're doing, that's fantastic. If this resonates with you and you just kind of have a passion or a heart for, hey, I'd love to be a part of assisting other families in our school community with this content, let Ms. Kay know, because we have a mechanism to certify through like a virtual model where you can go through the course yourself, get certified in content, and be equipped to help partner with school staff. How cool would it be if we just had this ongoing series of sessions around different parts of this content to just help our families? I think that turbocharges the learning when students are hearing it at school, they're seeing it at home, and you're coming along for the journey as well. A couple of resources I just wanted to point out to you. If you are a reader and you want to read more, I would say from a family lens, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families book, sorry, your picture. Great place to start. The actual original 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is just phenomenally rich. So if you have not revisited that, and maybe you said you read that at some point, that's a really great place. The teens version, I don't know what this says about me. I actually like the teens version best. I don't know if that's like a commentary on my maturity, but the original 7 Habits is a little meaty. It's a little weighty and kind of deep. But the teens version is fantastic as well. And then there is a kids version with cartoon characters, storybook that kind of teach the content. So a few resources that might be of interest to you to check out on your own. I think we are at the top of the hour. I'll stick around. I know we have another group in a little bit, a staff group, but I'll stick around if anyone has any questions or wants to chat. Thank you so much for being here. I am new to coaching here at Pine, and I'm loving it. I had such a great day with the staff a couple weeks ago, and I'm excited about the rest of the day today. So hope to get to spend more time with